Alrighty, good evening, Arkansas. This is Chief Forecaster Cameron,
And Derek here, coming to y'all once again from the firstregional.com studios here in downtown Little Rock. So the fly in the ointment today is yet another winter storm as we get ready once again for yet another winter storm across the natural state. As we talked about last night, we fully expected those winter storm warnings to be expanded across much of the state, and we saw that this afternoon, along with the winter weather advisory out for places like the Ozarks and into southern Arkansas as well.
definitely. So this is what we've got right down here, guys. Much of the winter storm warning for much of north to central Arkansas, and then you have the winter weather advisory for our folks in West Arkansas, the Ouachitas, and down into southern Arkansas here. And we've got a lot to talk about in terms of, the southern trend with the snow and sleet, the increased potential for seeing freezing rain, especially for our folks in western Arkansas here. And then down in southern Arkansas, the colder air trends and stuff like that here. So if you're just now tuning in, I hope you guys were able to get out, go to the grocery store today, get whatever you need. You will still have time. Yeah, you will still have time first thing tomorrow morning. But after that, conditions are going to start to deteriorate very, very quickly as we move into late morning and into tomorrow afternoon, and especially tomorrow night and into the first part of your Wednesday morning here across the state. So we're going to speed through the graphics as quickly as we can, and then we're going to get to questions here in just a little bit. But if y'all can do me a favor and share this live stream out, that way we can try to get to you guys with questions as many as possible. And while you're here, we have a lot of people that, the old Facebook page unfollowed. Make sure you follow the page here so that way you guys can kind of keep up with these live streams and everything like that here. So let's go ahead and get started here. And I'm going to start off with this because this is the number one thing that everybody's been asking about. When exactly is this going to impact your area? When exactly is this going to happen across Arkansas? And then we'll start talking about amounts and everything like that here. So, Derek, if you want to talk about western Arkansas first.
So as I said, this is going to be starting from west east throughout the day on Tuesday. Again, we fully expect this to start as we head into Tuesday morning across much of western Arkansas. Now, again, the most likely time frame is those most likely start time. That is not end time. That is most likely start time.
Yep.
Again, this is going to be a prolonged winter weather event. Typically 18 plus hours of precip falling in sub-freezing air.
Yep.
So again, when you look at the most likely time frame, this is start time, not your precip time. What I want to pay attention to is the ending by time. The ending time is when this is supposed to be out of the state.
Yep.
Again, anywhere from 6 a.m. to noon is when we expect this to start across western Arkansas. For our folks in southwest Arkansas, this will be rain to start. For our folks in north Arkansas, this will be snow to start.
Yep.
That middle third of the state, the Ouachita Mountains, we could be dealing with a prolonged period of freezing rain.
Yeah, and like we mentioned before, we're going to talk about that with the ice accumulation coming up. But very concerned, especially the Ouachitas over there in western Arkansas for that ice potential. And then we're going to talk about that snow potential here across central and northern Arkansas now. So now speaking of those areas, the area that's highlighted number 2, that's from Harrison, Mount Home, all the way down to Little Rock, all the way down to El Dorado here. Keep in mind, this is not this is going to start at 1 o'clock and then end at 7. This is a start time. Okay, so that means that if you got to go to the grocery store, you got to go to the pharmacy, you got to go do errands or something like that, all that needs to come to an end by 11 o'clock tomorrow morning. Because after 11 o'clock, conditions are going to start to deteriorate, roads are going to start to deteriorate, and that's when the winter storm is going to come into those areas here. So from Harrison, Mount Home, that does include the metro as well, Camden, Hope, Arkadelphia, Magnolia, El Dorado, Sheridan, Pine Bluff, Hot Springs, wrap everything up by 11 o'clock tomorrow morning. Things are going to deteriorate rather quickly tomorrow afternoon. This should end by the time we get into Wednesday morning. And I already see the comments about, can we get back out on the roads on Wednesday? Can we, go do this on Wednesday? Folks, I'm going to stress this right now. This is going to be an event that you're going to be in the house unless you're an essential worker. That's healthcare workers, that's grocery store workers, etc. This is going to be an event that you're going to be in the house. This is not like last month where you had to just plain snow and the road the roads rebounded pretty quickly after that. You're talking freezing rain, you're talking sleet, and you're talking snow on the roadways now. It's gonna make RDOT's life pretty nightmarish and trying to get the roads back up and running. So be prepared to be in that house probably today, at least the earliest Thursday and the Friday here. So I get it. A lot of folks, it doesn't stop. You can't just stop, but you're gonna have to with this one because you're gonna have ice and you're gonna have snow with this as well here. So if you don't have sound, you may have to back out and come back in. Audio levels look good on my end. If y'all can confirm that, Chandler, Taylor, you're in my ear. If y'all can confirm those audio levels, please make sure. But yeah, so this is going to be an event that if folks that are trying to get on Wednesday, unless you're an essential worker, you're going to have to stay at the house. That's how it's going to be because the roads are not going to be back up and running by the time we get into the Wednesday time frame here. If you want to talk about Eastern Arkansas.
So for our folks in Eastern Arkansas, again, this is going to be a later event in the end of the day. Again, we are talking about later on after 3 p.m. Most likely start time during that evening rush hour. And then of course obviously ending by 11 o'clock to noon on Wednesday as our system begins to pull away. Now that being said, again, same thing for our folks, similar on the western side of the state. We're going to be dealing with snow, an area of snow in North Arkansas, in the eastern parts of the state. We're going to be dealing with an area of sleet along I-40.
Okay.
And then we're going to be dealing with areas, again, obviously across the south of a mixed bag of precip. And the reason being for that, we're going to go over in just a minute. But again, start time, 5 to 8 p.m. is the most likely start time. But anywhere from 3 to 8 p.m. is when you need to be on guard for rapidly changing weather conditions.
You mean PM, not AM.
PM, yes.
Yeah, I was like
PM, yes.
So let's go ahead and talk to you guys about the winter outlook here, and this is just the Arkansas slushy. If you've ever seen it, when an event like this, you guys, you got a combination of everything: heavy snow, you've got wintry mists, freezing rain. There has been some changes with this outlook over the last 24 hours here because of that southern trend. So my folks in Hot Springs, Little Rock, Cabot, Conway, Russellville, Searcy, Wynn, West Memphis, Brinkley, Stuttgart, Helena, there has been some good news in terms of trying to get rid of the freezing rain. We talked about this last night in the live stream. Things are trending colder. So what's going to end up happening is there may be a brief period of freezing rain, but that's going to quickly end. You're going to switch to sleet, and we're going to talk about those sleet accumulations coming up in a little bit. And then you will switch completely over to all snow, and it could be some accumulated snow in this corridor from Russellville, Hot Springs, Little Rock, Conway, Searcy, the Wynn area, Brinkley, and over towards West Memphis here. So that's something that has changed over the last 24 hours. Obviously, for our folks in northern and northwestern Arkansas, you guys have been a lock for the last couple of days. Snow, potentially heavy snow up there. Some folks, if we're going to talk about snowfall accumulations just a little bit, could get upwards to a foot of snow, especially the closer you get to the Missouri border. So you guys have been a lock. You guys have probably been like, okay, why is no one really talking about North Arkansas a lot? Because you guys' forecast is done. Like there has been no changes. It's the easiest part of this entire forecast package for you guys up there in North Arkansas. The biggest question has always been central and southern and in the western Arkansas here. And if you want to talk about that Fort Smith, DeQueen, over to Pine Bluff, Helena, and down towards Monticello area.
So for our folks, again, this is what we talked about last night as well, and it's very, very common with these type of events. You have southwest flow coming up over the Ouachita Mountains, and you have northeasterly surface winds bringing that cold, dense Arctic air around the Ozark Mountains. So what's happening is here, while you're getting heavy snow, that cold Arctic air is working down around the mountains into the delta, into the valley regions, across parts of central into the river valley. So what happens is that means your warm air loft gets stuck in the Ouachita Mountains. And what that means is that
situation.
What that means is that we will have a prolonged period of freezing rain here compared to elsewhere around the state. And then, of course, obviously, the further south you go, the bigger your warm nose is. You deal with less sleet, more freezing rain. And then, of course, obviously, all freezing rain across far southern Arkansas, as well as those temperatures drop. But again, for our folks in the Washita's, we are starting to get a little bit concerned about the potential of a prolonged icing event with those ice accumulations approaching that ice storm criteria. I think we're going to be just under it, but we're going to be treading that very thin line between a sleet event, a ice sleet event, sleet and snow event, to all freezing rain event. It could be one of those situations, Cameron, where we're dealing with, say, Mina has ice, but then you go to Mount Ida and they're dealing with a sleet storm.
Yeah, and that's just the terrain of Arkansas in terms of trying to get, whenever you deal with a cold air situation like this, you have cold air funneling down, like you just mentioned, out of northeast Arkansas. What happens is it bangs against those mountain ranges we have out in west Arkansas, northwest Arkansas. So another concern, Derek, as well, is the river valley. Sometimes the warm air likes to be trapped within the valley regions, and that could lead to a prolonged period of sleet, possibly some freezing rain. So yes, we have you guys right now, especially in the Russellville area, from sleet to snow to all snow, but this forecast is what we call fluid. So it can change very, 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 very quickly. So if you live in the river valley and down in the valley areas, and especially in the Washita's, be prepared for the potential of seeing power outages. The freezing rain potential is definitely going to be there, and the sleet potential. I think everybody by the time you get into Wednesday morning, should have switched over to at least light snow. But this is going to be for those down in southern Arkansas, west Arkansas, it's going to be quick and it's going to be gone by the time the majority of the cold air is going to get here. The best shot of snow right now looks to be from north Arkansas, and especially this highlighted quarter from central and eastern Arkansas.
One thing I want to also reiterate on the sleet and snow to all snow is frontogenesis.
Yeah.
This is going to be a term we're going to use throughout this live stream. Frontogenesis. You have a cold front. So eerily similar to what we did with severe weather, we have a cold front coming down that is transitioning the atmosphere. We're already cold. I mean, look, it's 36 at 8 p.m., but you're going from cold to cold. And I mean, when I say cold, temperatures to the north of the state are below zero right now. Literally, you go north of Kansas City, you're below zero. So that column is cold all the way up, but what's going to happen is you're going to have a cold front coming in, slowing down as it makes that warm Gulf air. And what's going to happen is you're going to have a prolonged period where that moisture is riding up over that frontogenesis, creating lift. You're also going to be dealing with that thunderstorm threat that we're going to go over with here in just a minute.
So.
Hence why those heavy precip rates could lead to those higher totals. Also, hence why there's such a wide range of precip types around the state.
Definitely. And guys, I see the questions coming in. Folks, we got a lot of information we got to go over here. If you be patient with us, it's going to go a long way, because if you guys let us get through all the information, we will get to your guys' question. Don't just leave, because we're not immediately answering questions right out of the gate here. So we got to get all the information out, go over timing, go over the precepts, so you guys know what we're talking about, and then we will be able to get to the questions here while we can. So the next graphic's going to be up. It's going to be the snowfall totals here. And this is a very, very complicated forecast in terms of trying to nail down who exactly is going to see what with the snowfall totals up here in North Arkansas. Well, northwest Arkansas could see almost a foot of snow, even greater than a foot of snow, especially north of Fayetteville, southwest Missouri, northeastern Oklahoma. And then you go further south, you start talking a range from 5 inches of snow to almost a foot of snow across North Arkansas. Further south from there, and this has been a trend over the last 24 hours here. You guys remember last night, we didn't have much in central Arkansas. Now you guys have gone from what looked to have been about a half an inch to an inch of snow to the potential of seeing 2 to 4 inches of snow now, with that colder air looking to surge in a lot faster than when we talked about this, that being a potential, with that colder air surging in a lot quicker, kind of helping that freezing rain potential go away for our folks in central Arkansas here. And then down in the southern Arkansas, obviously, this will be when everybody switches over to snow by the time we get into first thing Wednesday morning here.
Now, one thing about this is that, the biggest thing is we are watching over the next, say, 12 hours or so is going to be that trend of further south trend. If your cold air, like I mentioned, with the cold air coming in around the mountains on northeast winds, the corridor from Jonesboro, Blytheville, Wynn, like Memphis, Brinkley, your area along the Delta into central Arkansas, into the river valley, could actually get colder faster than the Ouachita Mountains. So with that being said is, these snow totals still have that potential to come up, especially if you start cutting into sleet totals. Because if sleet totals come down, then your snow totals go up. And so that is pretty much how this works is the more freezing rain and sleet you have, the less snow you have. The more snow you have, the less sleet and freezing rain. So it's kind of one of those caveat events. Again, obviously 1 to 3 inches across western Arkansas. That is pretty much a lock because that cold air is going to be banking against that warm air. We're going to have a prolonged period of freezing rain throughout the day on Tuesday before we transition Tuesday afternoon and Tuesday night into more of a sleet and snow mix there.
Yeah. So, a couple of things here. Number one, power outages is definitely there. Travel issues are going to be there as well. The forecast confidence is still definitely pretty high. And keep in mind, you still have another 12 hours for this to kind of change and stuff like that, especially if the colder air is able to get here pretty quickly here. So there's a lot that still needs to be kind of watched over the next 12 to 24 hours here. So this is the power outage threat here. And I want to talk about this before we get into the question. So biggest thing is right now for our folks in Western Arkansas and the Ouachitas, if there's ever a time for you to make sure that you have backup power, this is going to be the time because there is a little bit of a higher concern over there for Walnut Ridge, Mena, Hot Springs, Daisy, DeQueen for that potential of seeing some power outages here. I know everybody's so anxious about the snow, but we've got to talk about the freezing rain potential too because not everybody's going to see snow out of this. Everybody's going to be north of I-40. I'd say a best bet would be you'll see a good amount of snow. South of I-40, you start talking freezing rain, you start talking sleet and stuff like that. So that's where that power outage threat is going to be there, especially across West Arkansas and down into Southern Arkansas here. We still have Central and Eastern Arkansas highlighted as possible, but if the colder air is able to get here a lot quicker, that will help the power outage threat go down pretty significantly here in Central Arkansas and into Eastern Arkansas here. So I'm gonna go ahead and go over this pretty quickly as well. How does freezing rain cause power outages? We've had this question too. Basically, freezing rain accumulates. The rain accumulates on the power lines and it freezes. And what happens is that ice accumulates and it weighs it down. And when that happens, you start breaking power lines, you start breaking tree limbs, stuff like that. That's what causes the power outages. That's why we're so concerned about the power outage threat when you start talking freezing rain. Especially increased freezing rain potential, especially for our folks in Western and then into Southern Arkansas here. But for our folks in Northern and Northwestern Arkansas, your forecast has pretty much been a lock. You guys are going to see snow. That's it. That's bottom line, straightforward. It's going to be snow up there. You don't have to worry about any ice up there in Northern and Northwestern Arkansas. The concern for freezing rain and sleet is going to be for our folks in West Arkansas and the Ouachita, and then down into Southern Arkansas here. Okay, so I want to talk about this too, and this is what I mean from Waldron, Mount Ida, Hot Springs, Arkadelphia, Daisy, DeQueen, Mena, in that general area. Like I mentioned before, we've got to watch that area very, very closely. I don't know what it is about Western and Southern Arkansas being a forgotten part of the state, but these folks need attention too, and especially when you talk freezing rain, because freezing rain is the worst type of winter weather precipitation you're going to get. Everybody north of that, North Arkansas, this is going to be just a generalized snow day with travel issues with the snow, but you don't have to worry about the ice. You don't have to worry about sleet or anything like that. You guys are going to get just straight snow up there in Northern Arkansas. So if you want to talk a little bit more about the freezing rain here, go ahead.
So when we're talking about the freezing rain, the reason why our totals are a little higher, than most forecasts, you will see again. The reason being is that this is going strictly off of that experience factor when it comes to these warm southerly winds or southwest winds banking against these northeasterly winds, and unfortunately, this time it's in the Ouachita Mountains. And with that being said, that's why you have a prolonged period of freezing rain, potentially thunderstorms as well, simply because of the so much warm air aloft with this cold air at the surface. So that being said, with that amount, we will be dealing with that icing, especially across western Arkansas. Now, don't pay attention to the 0.25 and 0.50. It's going to be a range. You know, if the cold air is deeper, we'll be dealing with the lower end of this. If the cold air is less, we will be dealing with the higher end of this, and that goes really for everybody across the state in the freezing rain area. You know, even for our folks who are going to be seeing that wintry mix, we will be doing a brief period of freezing rain before we transition over to that sleet and snow. Once we drop below freezing this evening, we will be below freezing until at least Friday afternoon. So what falls on the roads is going to be there for several days.
Yep. So this is pretty much, I think I have one more graphic here. That's going to be the sleet totals. And then
thunder.
I do, but I'm trying to get to questions so people will stop leaving every 5 seconds here. So we're trying to get to the questions as quickly as we can here. But the sleet totals, if you want to go over that.
So we're dealing with sleet as well with this event, and so what has been a trend with this event is more sleet, especially in that corridor from I-40 from Memphis to Lone Oak to Cabot to Little Rock, and then curving up into the River Valley, Conway, Morton, up towards the Russell area. Reason being is that frontogenesis. Again, you will have the warm air coming up over the cold air, and that cold air is going to be rapidly transitioning our rain over to sleet. You have a prolonged period of sleet, probably for several hours, that will accumulate relatively fast before that transition over to snow. Now, that being said, deeper cold air, less sleet, more snow, less cold air than you deal with the more freezing rain.
Yep.
But again, obviously surrounding that, you deal with your generalized, more average sleet totals with a wide range of a quarter to a half inch around much of the state.
Okay. So with that being said, we've gone through all the graphics, guys. This is the time right now. If you've got questions, answer them. Because, I want to stress this too, when we have these Q&As, you got to be patient with us, guys. Okay. I see comments and people getting upset with us, not getting into questions immediately. We got to go over the information first. That's how it is. And then we get to you guys' questions. So right now, we've gotten through all the graphics. We've gotten through all the information. This is the time now. If y'all have questions, we'll try to get to as many as we can. Just be patient with us, guys. That's the number one thing we're asking, is be patient. I know the excitement's there with winter weather, but you got to be patient with us, guys. We're human. We're not robots. So we're going to try to answer a few questions here. So I want to stress this too. So our folks up there in northern Arkansas, I'm going to take this one. Okay, you guys, I'm going to make this clear, are all snow, 100%. You guys have had the easiest part of the forecast for the last couple of days. That's it. It's the bottom line. You don't have to worry about freezing rain. You don't have to worry about sleet. You don't have to worry about power outages. It is just a bona fide snow day for you guys up there in North Arkansas. You guys, in terms of the forecast, when we do these graphics, you guys are the first part that we knock out. Because it's easy. It's easy. You guys are going to see just straight snow up there, and that's it. Okay, so you don't have to worry about the power outages. You don't have to worry about the freezing rain and stuff like that. You guys are just going to have a snow day up there, and that's going to be it. Kind of similar to what you dealt with last month. Just a little bit higher totals this go around for our folks up there in northern Arkansas here. So, matter of fact, if you give me just a second, I can switch back over to the snowfall graphic here. But I want to stress this too. Don't ignore the freezing rain and the sleet, okay? Because not every single person in Arkansas is going to see snow. That's how it's going to be. North Arkansas, from Melbourne, Batesville, Clinton, Jasper, Fayetteville, Harrison, Mount Holm, Walnut Ridge, Jonesboro, you guys are seeing snow. That's it. Cut, seal, deliver, that's it. You guys are seeing snow. Further to the south, that's where you're going to have the problems with the power outages. That's where you're going to have the majority of the problems with the travel, because you're not only adding snow, you're adding that freezing rain, you're adding that sleet and stuff like that here. So that's why we're not talking about North Arkansas as much as Central and South, because you guys are just straightforward and cut, seal, deliver, and that's it. Also, if it's hard to read the graphics here, we have this problem every time we go live as well. You tilt your phone, okay? If you have it like this, it's going to make those graphics super duper small. But if you tilt it and you have it like this, you're going to be able to read those graphics, guys. But if you have it like this, it's going to make those graphics super duper small. So that's why it's so hard to read those graphics. But this is, like I said, pretty much the reason why we haven't talked about North Arkansas with this one here, guys. So Sarah has a great question. Are we still talking about those 20 the 25-mile-per-hour winds here? Go ahead.
Yes, absolutely. With this event, it will be windy as well.
Yep.
But the good thing about it, though, is that we have the biggest area of concern when it comes to the wind is going to be the Washita Mountains, and then of course in southern Arkansas. But with those 20 to 30 mile per hour winds, some of those actually may come in towards the very end of the event. So those winds may not actually be a factor, more or less, until we get to Wednesday and Thursday.
Yeah.
When honestly the threat may be a little bit higher for those random power outages because of those tree limbs weighted down with snow, sleet, and ice.
Yeah.
With this event, and also same thing now during the event, we could be dealing with thunderstorms. Multiple people are starting to ask about that as well, and we'll go over that here in just a minute as well.
I'll get that graphic up. So, yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're fine. So we will be dealing with, Cameron posted about this this morning as well. So dealing with the possibility of thunderstorms.
Yep.
Which means thunder sleet, thunder freezing rain, thunder snow. Just depends on where you're at in the state. I think the further south you go, the greater risk you will have of hearing thunder. But that being said, with all the accumulation maps that we have put out, if you do get thunder anything, it is going to increase those totals substantially.
Yeah. So give me just 1 second. I can get this up. I'm trying to bounce between making sure we have timing up. And folks, I'm going to stress this too. We're going to have all these graphics on the page. Okay. Don't freak out on us because we don't have a graphic up when you're on the live stream. All you got to do is go to our page. It's going to have the exact same graphics, the exact same stuff that you're seeing on the live stream here. So you're not missing anything. I want to make that crystal clear. Every time we have a live stream, at the end of the live, we have what's called a live recap post on our page. That way you see all the graphics that you're seeing on the live stream right now. So you're not missing anything with this here, okay? So potential of thunder, freezing rain, and sleet. Now, I talked about this yesterday, and I talked about this morning. This is what we call a situation where you have that warm, moist air coming out from the Gulf of Mexico. This is kind of like, almost like a severe weather setup, but it's not a severe weather setup here. You have that moisture coming out from the Gulf, and what ends up happening is it overruns with that shallow Arctic cold air we have in place in Central and South Arkansas. Now, this was made this morning, and I'm probably going to have to include the Waldron, Mount Ida, Mena area over there in the Washita for this potential. What happens is, if you haven't noticed, you've never known this, you can get thunderstorms and stuff freezing air. It can happen. It doesn't mean you're going to see tornadoes or anything like that. Don't freak out on me. But it does mean that you can have the potential of seeing some thunderstorms and stuff freezing air. So what that does, it promotes higher freezing rain totals. It promotes higher sleet totals. You can, in some rare situations, get thunder snow where it increases those snowfall rates. So I think the best shot of that is going to be for our folks in Central and in Southern Arkansas. The closer you get to the Gulf and that moisture source, the better shot you're going to have. We've seen with the computer model data, not just one model, but we've seen several that have what's called a aloft instability, just enough to promote thunderstorms. So we'll have to keep that in mind down there in Southern Arkansas here. Right now, like I said, a very low shot of this, but I think with the amount of most unstable cape you have down there in Southern Arkansas, you will have to watch for that potential here. And if that does happen, your freezing rain totals will start to go up, and that's something we do not want because that leads to power outages, tree damage. Freezing rain is just the worst part of winter weather. You don't ever want freezing rain. If you do, if you want freezing rain, you're weird. I'm just gonna say that. So.
And and something, if you're around in March of 2007.
Yeah.
2007, and also not 2007, 2017.
Yeah.
We had what was called we had thunder sleet here in Little Rock. Well, what was supposed to have been a prolific ice storm ended up being 3 to 4 inches of sleet.
Yeah.
And that was mostly due to constant thunderstorms with that event.
Yeah.
So we had a very good question as well on YouTube.
Yeah.
About the cold air loft potentially bringing more snow and less sleet.
I saw it somewhere, and it probably got buried. I mean, let me see. It could be. Is it this one?
Yes, that one. Yeah.
Could the aloft temperature trend down enough to where Central Arkansas, and that in terms of those amounts,
I don't think 8+ inches per se.
No.
But that being said, I brought down that 4 to 8
Yeah.
to areas like Conway, Searcy, BB, places like that. It's not out of the realm of possibilities
Yep.
that you get that 4-inch line, 4 to 5 inch line as far south as the metro. I have doubts because of the amount of sleet we're going to get, but the last 24 hours, 48 hours has trended colder, has trended further south.
Yep.
So that being said, now for you folks in North Arkansas, if this keeps trending south, we're going to be dealing with over a foot of snow for much of you up there, and not just a certain area. So each data run has been colder, each data run has been wetter, each data run has been further south. So the trend is your friend if you want higher snow totals. I will say that.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the HRR right now, and it's actually got that band set up from Little Rock to Searcy in this generalized area near Cabot. This is where your heavy snowfall totals may start to pile up over here. So we'll have to keep an eye on this. But I've noticed the short range model data is starting to really increase. It's got 2 inches now for Central Arkansas. So we'll have to keep an eye on that, folks. That snowfall up there in North Arkansas, near a foot up there in Northern Arkansas, if you were to go with the HRs here. So we're just looking at short range data right now. Things still remain the same, kind of a little bit different in terms of earlier on where things have trended a little bit colder with the 0Z data. But other than that here, guys, nothing really has changed here. But that really is a good question about if your loft temperatures are a lot colder, could that bring down that snow potential down in the Central Arkansas here, guys? So let me see here. So there's been one from Sarah. If models are running warmer like they typically do, could that heavy snowfall threat move further south? Now, this is not going to be a situation where, there's a 400-mile jump with the heavy snow threat between now and tomorrow. That's not going to be the case. But there could be a situation here, and I think if I can pull this up, I don't know if you're going to see this or not, but if you give me just 1 second, I'm going to try something real quickly. There we go. I'm going to go over to the HR, and I want to show you guys something real fast. So right in here, as we move into Tuesday night in the Wednesday, this little band that's trying to set up between Hot Springs, Stuttgart, that's Memphis, that's Searcy, there's Wynn, and there's Little Rock, Conway. There's a band that's trying to set up right in here. And what happens with that situation is you can get localized heavy snow. As a matter of fact, I'm going to do this. I think there's a product that I can show you. Yeah, there we go. So there's your snowfall rates per hour. That's almost a half an inch of snow per hour in that little band from Little Rock to Searcy, Cabot, West Memphis, this general area. So the heavy snow that we have up there in North Arkansas is not going to jump south within 24 hours. There has to be a major shift between now and tomorrow for that to happen. Could there be localized heavy snow? Most definitely, and that's something that we're going to monitor very closely for our folks at Central Arkansas here. But for North Arkansas, you guys are solid. Central, you guys have gone from what looked like a really prolific freezing rain event to now a sleet and snow to snow event for us here in Central Arkansas. So let me go back.
And if you notice the cutoff, once you get south of the metro, south of I-40, that cutoff goes from some snow to no snow at all, just like that. And we're dealing with more freezing rain and sleet. And then, of course, obviously we transition. As the event ends, you will see that brief changeover to snow. But by the time you get there to that point, most of your moisture has moved out.
So there's a question about why is our snowfall total so much higher than everybody else? Well, there's a couple of reasons why. Number one, the system itself, we're still looking at data and everything like that here, but you guys have to realize we don't just go off of data. This is an experience. So further south, you're going to bring that colder air further south as well. With the moisture that has been increasing with every single model trend as well. That's why our snowfall totals are a little higher, especially across North Arkansas. Now, in Central Arkansas, and your ratios as well. Yeah, so there's a lot of factors that go into this. That's why our snowfall totals may be a little higher than everybody else. Everybody else is going to have a different opinion. That's just how it is when you're trying to forecast winter weather in Arkansas. But overall, things have been trending colder. The system itself has trended a little bit further south, which has gotten rid of the freezing rain threat here in Central Arkansas. Because a couple of days ago, we were very worried about this being an ice event for us here. But now things have changed quite significantly here. So I hope that answered your question. Let me see here. Do you recall the 2009 ice storm here? Now, here's the deal. With this, there, I'm gonna let you. Do you want to take this one because you have a little more experience with that?
So again, as we say it time and time again, no two events are the same.
Yeah.
The 2009 ice storm. Every time we say ice storm in the natural state, everybody goes back to 2009. They go back to 2000. They go back to 2001. And I think there was another one in there somewhere. But again, those are generational ice storm events. Right now, this is going to be nowhere near that time event. That was over 24 hours worth of nothing but heavy freezing rain with temperatures in the 20s. And so this event is much, much, much different. But yeah, so again, this is going to be a regular snowstorm for our folks in North Arkansas.
Yep.
We're not expecting any ice with this at all. You may get a little bit of freezing drizzle at the onset as your moisture is starting to increase. But other than that, this is going to be a strictly snow event for you folks in North Arkansas. South Arkansas, you folks, I know we had that perfect ice storm during the 21 event.
22.
Yeah,
it was 22.
22 event.
Because that's how I remember it is we forecasted Central Arkansas and Little Rock to see all that, and then the colder air aloft surged in at the last second and prevented that here in Little Rock. Because I think we had, what was it there, half an inch of ice forecasted for the Little Rock area.
Yep.
And because I remember we were hustling trying to make sure we had backup power and all that, but then it happening was the cold air was able to surge in a lot quicker. Southeast Arkansas ended up taking the brunt of that freezing rain with that event. So let me take a look here. So for our folks down there in, give me 1 second here. I'm just going over the comments real quickly here. So why does everyone saying this is going to end by 6 o'clock? Okay. So, all right. So how this timing map works is this is going to start the earliest time frame for our folks in Zone 1 in Western Arkansas at 6 o'clock in the morning. Okay. That's the earliest time frame. Now, what's going to end up happening is that most likely it's going to be from 8 o'clock to 12. Every time we have a winter weather event, it starts off early. That's how it is.
Yep.
It always starts off earlier than what model data shows. It happened with last month's system. It happened a couple of years ago. It just happens.
Yep.
So
data has slowed down.
Yeah.
On the ending of this event. So data has slowed down on the ending of this event. Now, for our folks in West Arkansas, the most likely scenario is between that 4 to 6 a.m. time frame.
Yep.
Ending again 6 a.m. on Wednesday morning. Again, starting. Again, we're looking at an 18 to 24 hour event.
Yep.
With precip falling. Your heaviest precip is going to be in that corridor from Tuesday afternoon through early Wednesday morning, and then ending it eventually. Again, that being said, could it end sooner? Absolutely. But you got to take into effect any slowdown, any type of change. You got to take that into account when giving any type of forecast.
Definitely. So let's take a look here real quickly here. Okay. So I'm just worried about the cold temperatures as I am the precipitation. Susan, thank you so much for this comment here, because I think what happens is, and I get it, I do, when you have winter weather and you have snow, everybody gets so excited about it. Because it doesn't happen a lot here in Arkansas. I think what's going on right now here is a lot of people are banking that temperatures are going to warm up rapidly behind us, and that is not the case whatsoever. Wednesday and Thursday are going to be the coldest that we've had so far, probably the entire the winter season so far. So folks, we're stressing this. It is not going to warm up rapidly behind this system. Okay, Susan's got a great comment. The cold temperatures are real, and it's going to be a situation that, if you got pets outside, you got stuff outside, you want to bring them inside. You want to make sure they have a warm place here, because after this event, this is why we're saying travel is not going to improve till Friday. Temperatures are going to struggle, especially in North Arkansas. I'll be willing to bet that North Arkansas, some folks don't get out of single digits, especially on Wednesday and Thursday.
Yep.
Central and South, obviously, you will try to rebound into the teens and 20s here, but those overnight lows are going to be brutal.
So, let's talk about that cold here for a little bit. Yeah. So, your winter weather event is tomorrow.
Yep.
Okay, behind this, your Arctic, but keep in mind, there's a cold front coming through tomorrow that's going to take us from cold to colder.
Yep.
Okay, so
Matter of fact,
Think of it.
yeah,
Think of it like this. So we're gonna go from cold to colder. Everybody was around in 21 when we had those single digits for highs and we had those teens for highs. This cold air mass is mimicking that one, just to lesser length of time.
Yep.
But Wednesday, Thursday, and into Friday morning is going to be really cold. North Arkansas, you will be well below zero for lows, wind chills in the negative 20s. Central Arkansas, you will be in the single digits for lows, especially Wednesday night, and then 10, 11, 12 degrees on Thursday night. Keep in mind, the deeper the snowbank, the lower your temperature goes.
Yeah.
And then, of course, obviously, Thursday night we start to warm up. But again, Wednesday, your highs are in the teens and the low 20s. Thursday is actually going to be a little bit colder for central Arkansas and southern Arkansas than north. So basically, what's happening is your Arctic air mass is moving kind of southeast, and then it's going to move from west east. So Thursday could be colder in the eastern half of the state than it could be on Wednesday.
Yeah.
So, but again, the anticipation is highs to be in the teens and the low 20s starting tomorrow. Starting tomorrow, I want to stress this. Highs tomorrow are only going to be in central and north Arkansas in the 20s with precip falling. South Arkansas, you will be above freezing to start and rapidly fall below.
Yep.
Once you go below freezing, you will not be above freezing till Friday afternoon at the earliest.
Yeah.
North Arkansas, Saturday, you will be the earliest that you'll be above freezing. Will we transition out of this slowly? Yes. But, and again, if you like spring air, just beyond this, it's coming.
Yeah.
But we got to get through the hardest Arctic blast of the season thus far.
Definitely. And like I mentioned before, this is why we had this temperature map up right now. Folks, I'm stressing this right now. I get it. It's a go deal. This is going to be a situation Wednesday and Thursday. Those roads are not going to be improved that fast. Main roads, RDOT's going to work their tails off to make sure the main roads, the interstates are taken care of. But this is a situation where temperatures are going to be below freezing. This is not going to be like it was last event where you migrated pretty quickly after a heavy snow event. This is going to be a situation that you're going to have to be patient with RDOT. You're going to have to be patient with them trying to get the roads back up and running. I understand we have essential workers, healthcare workers that still got to go to work and stuff like that. But those roads are not going to recover that fast, at least for the first 2 days after this event. Friday and into the weekend, which we have another system, by the way, we're going to talk about after this winter storm coming up this weekend. It's not going to improve much, guys. Okay, so this is the cold air. This is what Susan's worried about. This is the cold air we're talking about. And keep in mind, this is not feels like temperatures. It's not wind chills.
This is the actual air temperature.
Right. These are actual air temperatures right now up here in the northern plains. Those are temperatures in the negative teens to negative 20s across the area. That cold air will funnel down into our area as we move into late tomorrow and into Wednesday and into that Thursday time frame here.
Everybody's eyeing Arizona right now and jealous.
Oh yeah. Oh
Everybody's
yeah. I wish.
Arizona.
Yeah, I
and
wish.
Jealous right now in the 70s right now.
Yeah.
In Death Valley in the 70s. But then again, they're paying for it come July.
Oh
Just remember this.
Just remember that. Yeah.
So that being said, I mean, this is a dangerous Arctic air mass, and I say this loosely. I say it because everybody thinks cold weather, you're not going to have many issues. Cold weather, you actually see a more higher rate, just like you do in summertime, when you deal with a lot of your heat.
Yeah.
Cold weather, especially in the South, gets underestimated because of the amount of cold air there is.
Yeah.
Because we're not used to it here. We don't get it often. We don't really know how to dress. Layers is going to be the key if you have to go out. But this is why those roads are not going to get better throughout much of the week.
No, whatsoever, guys. And like I said, you're not going to keep everybody home. You still have your essential workers that have to get out, folks that still have to get out. The bills still got to get paid and stuff like that. But I just don't want everybody Wednesday morning, first thing, starting to hit the roads as hard as possible, because that's just going to lead to accidents. It's just going to lead to a lot of treacherous conditions on those roadways here. So unless you are an essential worker or you have to go to work, like you absolutely have to go to work, there's no way around it. This is going to be a situation you're going to be at the house. That's how it's going to be, because those roadways, especially those back roads, are not going to improve that fast. And we're harping this home because we're seeing so many comments about, how's roads going to be Wednesday? How's roads going to be and stuff like that. Unless you're an essential worker, you got to get out, and I get that too. I used to work at a grocery store. I get it. You got it. If you got to get out, you got to get out. But if you don't have to get out, like if you don't have to go to work, you don't have to go to the store, you don't have to, this is a situation you're going to have to stay home because the roads are not going to be back up and running at least until I'd say the earliest, maybe Thursday. RDOT does do a pretty good job of trying to get those roads back up and going pretty quickly here. But this is a situation you're adding ice on top of the snow as well here. So let me see here. Let me what is the I was gonna say, what did you were gonna say something. What were you gonna say?
Oh yes, sorry.
Yeah, you go ahead.
So tomorrow,
yeah,
when precip starts, so there's a lot of schools that are getting out early dismissal.
Yeah. We can talk about that too.
So this is a caveat of mine. I'm always one that say, better safe than sorry, especially when it comes to our kids, when it comes to school traffic, etc. Like this. I have lived in Little Rock, especially. Just taking where we live, for example, where our office is and stuff like that. For example, I've seen it time and time again where the city goes into gridlock fashion when that first flake falls, or the first pellet falls, or the first raindrop falls, with temperatures at or below freezing. Tomorrow's high could be 30 degrees, 28 to 30 degrees.
Yep.
So, with that being said, when this stuff starts falling, it's going to be well below freezing all night tonight. So that being said, is I'm not telling you what to do, but I'm saying is that pay attention closely to the radar tomorrow. Pay attention closely, and if you as a parent use your best judgment on this, school officials. I do not want to be in that role.
Yeah. Because
every school district has to make a uniform decision based on the forecast going out, based upon what could happen. And, it is a lot of different factors that go into it. Mm-hmm. But that being said, the biggest thing is going to be just make sure if you have to go pick up your child after school, getting out early. Many schools are getting out between 11 and 1, which is when our timing of this is supposed to start. Be careful and play it safe. I know the bus drivers will play it safe, etc. But we got to make sure we're safe as well, especially in the areas where we could be dealing with freezing rain and sleet.
Yeah. So I'm gonna bring up Lauren's comment here. So I see the power outages are moderate. What about Conway? Fortunately for you guys, and I talked about this. We talked about this last night, and we talked about it earlier in the live stream. Fortunately for you guys, the cold air aloft looks to get here pretty quick. Which will prevent freezing rain in central Arkansas. So I think the best power outage potential is going to be down there in southern Arkansas and west Arkansas, especially the Ouachitas. Folks in central Arkansas, obviously, if we start seeing some freezing rain, we'll keep an eye on that. But I think the colder aloft is going to get here fast enough to prevent a power outage issue here in central Arkansas, Little Rock, and Conway. One thing I'm worried about truly is tomorrow, because we saw this with the last event back in January. Like Garrett said, that first flake that falls, everybody goes into panic mode, and the roads start becoming in a gridlock. I'm stressing this right now from the bottom of my heart. Wherever you gotta go tomorrow, it's gonna be there when you get there. Okay, no reason to go 100 miles per hour. No reason to put somebody else's life in jeopardy trying to get somewhere as quick as possible. Mm-hmm. No reason for that whatsoever. Tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening, whatever you got to do in terms of going to the store, if you're off tomorrow, get it done first thing tomorrow morning. If that means getting up at 6 a.m., that means getting up at 6 a.m. To get stuff done. But when that stuff starts coming in, like tomorrow morning and tomorrow afternoon, those road conditions are going to deteriorate pretty quickly. No reason to go 100 miles per hour on those roadways trying to get back home as fast as possible. Okay, you take when the precipitation starts, you take your time, you slow down, and you're gonna get there. Okay, but if you go fast, if you speed up, it's just gonna cause gridlock. It's gonna cause accidents. It's gonna cause all these issues, and it's not us being rude or anything like that. It's us trying to prevent a mass issue tomorrow. I can see what's getting ready to happen here. Like Eric said, you're gonna have schools that are gonna be getting out right around lunch. People are going to be trying to get home before the weather starts. No reason to go fast on those roadways tomorrow, guys. Okay, I'm begging y'all, take it easy on those roadways tomorrow, guys. Trying to get home, and I get it. You're trying to get home. You're trying to get back to the house. I get it, 100%. Please be careful on those roadways tomorrow, guys. Okay.
And we're
And,
having
yeah,
several questions.
I know RDOT is going to be pre-treating the roads as well. So what was your question?
Several questions about South Arkansas roads, South Arkansas weather. Folks, we're not skipping over South Arkansas. This is a statewide event.
Yeah, we don't
This
skip
is a
over
statewide
anybody.
event. That being said, for South Arkansas, we will be doing road conditions are going to be highly dependent.
Yeah.
Upon how much freezing rain we get.
Yeah.
So that being said, again, we're not expecting the amount of freezing rain and sleet that we're going to get further north, especially from Canyon to Magnolia, El Dorado, across at Lake Village. Your road conditions may be okay, but you go, the further north you go, then the worse your road conditions are going to be. Places like DeQueen, Hope, Camden, Warren, Monticello. Those places could be dealing with a little bit higher of a road issue than, say, places along 82. So that being said, there's a lot, of factors going into this.
Mm-hmm.
But our folks in South Arkansas, impacts are going to be highly dependent upon the amount of ice we get and any sleet that we get. Snowfall is not going to be really much of a factor here, but sleet and ice will.
Yeah, so I saw this graphic from the National Service in Little Rock. They have highlighted North Arkansas for the potential of seeing a light dusting as early as tonight. I'm pretty sure there's a little shortwave that's coming through tonight.
Mm-hmm.
There could be a light dusting up there from Pocahontas over towards Mount Home, Fayetteville, etc. here.
And
so
just goes to show you how early things start.
Yeah, and we have that timing. I think I have that timing up there from like 4 or 5 a.m. up there in North Arkansas anyway. So it's going to be something that may get started as early as late tonight during the overnight hours, and will continue to get worse throughout the day.
Eureka Springs Live has a very good question there.
Yep, go ahead.
And so this is something that I think that we definitely need to think about.
Mm-hmm.
Is those higher ratios. For you folks up there in North Arkansas, in Eureka Springs, especially, the ratios are going to be higher, 12 to 1, 15 to 1, 20 to 1. So that being said, I fully expect to see, and we actually have that area highlighted for an area of 12 plus inches of snow.
Yep.
And would not be shocked to see 13, 14, 15. I mean, it's just going to really depend on how quickly those ratios fall. This is going to be very similar to 21, where we had those very dry, fluffy flakes. We're not going to have the fat, wet flakes that we had in January up there. My folks in Central Arkansas, you will have those fluffy, wet flakes again. Once everything starts to fall. But for our folks in Eureka Springs, especially up there, we will be dealing with that 12 plus inch. Would not be shocked to see some areas. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go on and call it now.
Yep.
My early call for the highest snowfall total in Arkansas, I'm going to go with Pea Ridge, Arkansas, 16 inches.
I'm going to go with up there in North Arkansas. I'm going to go Springdale, and I'm going to go 14 up there. I'm going to go with Springdale up there in Northwest Arkansas and 14. So we'll see which one's right. But that's what I'm thinking the highest snowfall total is probably going to be in Arkansas. Now, obviously in Missouri, Northeast Oklahoma, Southeast Kansas, those totals could even be higher than that. Kind of somewhat similar to what we dealt with last month, but we're just on the southern end this go around instead of the northern end here, guys. And what's going on with the graphics, by the way, I have it cycling through because a lot of people were like, okay, I wanted to see this graphic and this one. I have it cycling through right now. So that way, if you need to see the graphic, it's going to pop up on the screen while we're answering your questions. Please keep in mind this, and I'm telling you guys this, you're not missing anything whatsoever. Go follow our page. It's going to be there immediately after this live stream is over. All you got to do is just go follow the page. As soon as you do that, you're going to see the exact same graphics that are scrolling on the screen right now. That way, you're not missing anything, I promise. Let me see here. We're gonna answer a few more questions, and then I think we're gonna hop off of here
Yep.
to get ready for the winter storm coverage for tomorrow. So I saw the National Weather Service issued an extreme cold warning for some areas. I do believe that will expand quite a bit by the time we get into probably this time tomorrow. I think what's going on is the reason why it's not being expanded right now is because you're trying to warn for the winter storm,
Yep.
but you're also trying to warn for the cold air. So I think once the winter storm starts coming to an end, you'll start seeing those extreme cold warnings get issued across the state here. So just keep that in mind. What did you see? What did you see? Who was it?
If Cam loses this bet, I expect to see another
snow
Snow Angel video. You've been challenged, Cam.
All
Once again.
right.
You've been challenged once again.
All right.
All right.
Springdale, I need you to come clutch for me.
Yep.
Because that was cold last time. That was cold. And it's going to be worse this time because we're going to have sleet at the bottom of it.
Yep.
So,
so I saw another question as well from Sarah. Okay, so you answered that one about the extreme
cold
cold
warning
as well.
Yeah.
So Jerry Manhart had a good one too. Are we done with winter weather after this?
Nope.
We are not. I'm just going to throw this out there. We are not. This is what we call the winter to remember if you live in the South.
Yeah.
This has been, if you're a winter weather lover and you love winter weather and you like winter, you like cold, all things cold, this has been your type of winter, bar none. As we go into March, as you know in Arkansas, March does weird things.
Yep.
As we get into the weekend, I fully expect we could be dealing with another winter weather threat this upcoming weekend as we transition from Arctic air back to spring type air.
Yep.
But then as we go into March, there's already indications that we're going to see another polar vortex dislodge, which means another shot of cold air. The question is going to be how cold is it, and will there be a system? We have plenty of time to watch that again. We're averaging about every 3 to 4 weeks in between winter weather events right now. I don't think we get through March without one more. I'm just going to throw that out there. Somewhere in Arkansas, we'll see one more round of winter weather in March before we wrap the winter season up and start talking what could be one of the most active, severe springs we've seen in quite some time.
Yeah.
So just to answer your question.
Not looking forward to having that conversation with y'all about spring. Let me see here.
Any changes?
Okay, so there was 2. Are we expecting any changes over the next 12 hours? Obviously, yes, things can and will change. That's how it is with any kind of weather system here in Arkansas. Things could trend warmer, things could trend colder. That's something that we're still gonna have to watch over the next 12 to 24 hours. Bust potential from James. Yes.
Yep.
Yes, there's significant bust potential here. And from the perspective, you can look at it from like, hey, South Arkansas could get just crippling ice out of this, where your ice totals go through the roof. Or they may not see a lot of ice and they see a lot of sleet.
Yep.
Like here in Central Arkansas, we have freezing rain, sleet, and snow. Well, the bust potential could be, we don't see that freezing rain and sleet. We just go straight snow because cold air is able to funnel in a lot quicker. So yeah,
and
there's
that's
always
something that we're going to be watching tomorrow closely. You see the temperature over here on your screen.
Yeah.
So you see it 33 degrees. 1 more degrees and we're there.
Yeah.
And then everyone, as we drop below freezing, you will not come back above freezing until the weekend.
Yeah.
So that being said, if you're cold air, which typically happens a lot, if in fact the cold air funnels in faster, then we could be dealing with a whole lot more snow than what we're currently expecting.
Yeah.
Contrary, if your warm air is deeper, then we could be dealing with more ice. So again, that is why Central Arkansas is in that threshold that you're going to be right on that line from snow to ice. And that's why your sleet totals are higher. Your isolated snow totals could be a little bit higher.
Yep.
And your ice totals could be higher because you were dealing with that heavy precip of all types.
So let's see. One more question. Winds, blizzard-like conditions. I know you guys up there in North Arkansas are under that winter storm warning for the potential of seeing blowing and drifting snow up there as well. Now, obviously, when you talk blizzard conditions, you got to have 35-mile-per-hour wind gusts for at least 3 hours or more. This is going to be a situation where I'm not expecting blizzard conditions up there, but you will have blowing and drifting snow because it's going to be that dry, powdered snow. It's not going to be that heavy, wet snow we saw last month here in Arkansas. This is going to be that dry, powdered snow that accumulates so fast. That's why we think a foot of snow is a legit possibility up there in North Arkansas because of that. Fun fact, by the way, you get higher snowfall accumulation with drier snow than you do with wet snow.
Yep.
Because dry snow, it doesn't take much to fall on the ground. It doesn't melt as fast, so you're able to pile that up a lot quicker than you are with heavy wet snow. So that's why we're saying up there that blowing and drifting snow could be possible. And also, Rachel, yeah, there's a lot of people that that would love to see the system shift further to the south, and that's something that's still a realm of possibility over the next 12 to 24 hours. But right now, the thing is, you're getting into February, and then late February, and into March, you're going to start seeing that southeast ridge start to flex its muscles more and more and more. So in the situation, when this was last month, we probably would have been looking at another widespread snow event here across the state. But with us being in February now, your southeast ridge is trying to flex its muscles a little bit more, trying to get ready for spring, right?
Yep.
So it's pushing those systems a little bit further north, and it's a gradual thing that we see all the time with computer model data and everything like that. You start noticing with every single event how it starts trending more north, 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 and north, and you start eventually dealing with severe weather. Then you start eventually dealing with heat, and then you get into fall and the winter. Everything starts coming back south. That's kind of how it works. So we're starting to see that little nudge. It's very subtle, but you're starting to see those little nudges in every single one of these little tracks with these systems that are coming through. But yeah, obviously this thing shifts further south, then we go from there. Where do we expect the most of the power outages here? Let's talk about this. I think this is probably going to be one of our last questions, so we can get ready for tomorrow. We think the majority is going to be down in southern Arkansas and into western Arkansas, especially in the Ouachitas, where freezing rain totals could easily approach a quarter to a half an inch of ice. That's where we think the majority of the power outages are going to be. Go ahead.
Yep. Summer, I know, it's especially, with there around Hot Springs, at points, but Hot Springs is going to be on that line where we're going to be dealing with the possibility of either heavy sleet or heavy freezing rain, depending where you're at in the county in general, because Garden County is going to be one of those weird setups where the eastern half of the county could be dealing with mostly sleet and snow, while the western half of the county could be dealing with more freezing rain than sleet and snow. So it's going to be one of those things where it's going to be highly dependent upon elevation and where you live. This could be a weird setup where you have, and it's happened in the past where your higher elevations are getting ice, while your lower elevations are getting sleet and or snow because of that warm air aloft.
Yeah. So I think that's pretty much it. Let me see here. We can kind of go over one last time, just kind of looking at this. Let me go back over to the timing here. So I'm going to break this down one last time, the timing. Folks in Western Arkansas, this is going to get started first thing in the morning. Okay, I wouldn't be shocked. We wake up first thing in the morning. We get some, we get some reports in Western Arkansas of the potential of seeing, some freezing rain, a little bit of sleet first thing tomorrow morning. The majority of this should start coming in late tomorrow morning and into lunch. I want everybody done in Western Arkansas. If you got to go to the store, I do it now. It's still 9 o'clock. I know Kroger's open till like 11 and stuff like that, so you'll be able to still go to the store and everything like that. But if you got to get everything done, it's got to be first thing tomorrow morning. Okay. My folks in Central Arkansas, North Central Arkansas, and Southern Arkansas, I want everybody done by 11 or lunch in terms of going to the stores, getting anything, getting medicine, stuff like that. You got to be done by then. Like I said, I know, we're going to have school that's going to be getting out around that time and stuff like that. You got to go pick up the kiddos. You coming home, take it slow on the roadways, guys. Okay, please do not freak out on me when there's a first flake that falls or the first sleet pellet or it starts to rain. Don't speed up, because that's the worst thing that you can possibly do is speed up trying to get home before the precipitation starts. That's the worst thing you can do. What you want to do, you want to slow down. The roads are going to start to deteriorate, but here's the deal. Here's a cheat code to this. The roads are going to take time to become bad. If you take it slow on the roadways, you don't go 100 miles per hour, you can actually come out a lot better on those roadways because it's going to take time. Because initially that stuff's going to melt, and eventually it's just going to be a puddle of water.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to take time for it to freeze. But if you go 100 miles per hour, you start speeding up, you're going to lead into what was it called, hydroplaning and stuff like that, and it's just going to be a nightmare. So you have that time whenever the precipitation starts. A lot of people don't know this, that the roadways actually become just a puddle of water right out the gate, and then it starts to freeze. So if you take it slow on the roadways, you get to where you need to go, and you get back home, you're going to be good to go. I promise. But do not speed. Eastern Arkansas, right around 2, 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, that's when you guys actually have a little bit later over there in Eastern Arkansas than much of Central or in Western Arkansas here. So I just kind of want to bring that point out because there's going to be a lot of people tomorrow, once the precipitation starts, they're going to be trying to get back as quickly as possible, and that's the worst thing you do, guys. Don't ever do that. Take it easy on the roadways, slow down. I promise you're going to get to wherever you need to go here. So,
Summer, one thing also I do want to bring up, precip will stick as it hits.
yeah.
Tomorrow is the day where precip will stick as it hits.
Yeah.
That's just how that's how this is going to go tomorrow. Especially with many of us dropping below freezing overnight tonight.
Yeah.
The central, really the northern 2/3 of the state, I don't think gets above freezing at all tomorrow.
No, they're below freezing now.
Yeah.
That's ball game right there. So they have pre-treated the roads. That's a really good one as well. They pre-treated the roads. So that's another thing too. That's the reason why I'm saying yes, stuff is going to accumulate pretty instantly because you're going to be below freezing. But the roadways, a lot of people are asking about travel. The roadways are going to be fine for a certain period of time. It's not going to be a forever deal. I want to make that clear. It's not going to be forever. It's just going to allow enough time for you to, if you got to go pick kids up from school or you got to go to the last minute grocery store or something like that, it's going to allow time for you to get from where you're at to your house without having to be stuck. That's just what I mean by that. It's not going to be like, oh, the roads are going to be fine. No, it's just a small period amount of time you're going to have to take advantage of before the roadways start to become hazardous across the area. So, other than that, Derek, unless you have something you need to.
No,
Right.
I mean, biggest thing, just a shout out to our sponsors on a regular basis. Superior RV, Witham Moreland and Construction, and then of course, obviously, the BBB Arkansas.
In the Little Keys Mini Golf up there in Mount Home in Northern Arkansas.
And then, of course, obviously, Fire Text. And Brain Fart.
Ankle monitor. There you go.
Arkansas Ankle Monitor. For basically supplying us, with this amazing studio that we are able to bring even better coverage than we had before. But again, for myself, for Cameron, for our team here at AWW, we will keep you updated on the latest information. And of course, thank you for joining us and trusting us right here on your source for all things Arkansas Weather.